Hold on, okay. I'm gonna.
Just checking 1 second. Are we live? How are you?
Good. I'm doing great.
Oh, let's see.
So you're broadcasting on Facebook. Is that it?
Yeah.
Very good. Me.
I think we're live, so we can start it.
Yeah. I'm gonna screen share. Yep.
You got the screen share. Okay, we can share it in the different groups. And so I would love to introduce first Kirk Mclaren is the CEO of Foresight, and he's also CFO at Foresight. And today we're gonna have he also a professor at Georgetown University, and the topic is the 2% CEO habits of profitability. And Kirk, welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity to come out to the community and share some best practices on how to build a business or even manage parts of a business if you're a manager, with the numbers, right? So that you get more clarity, more visibility about what you're going after. So, Akibar, you want me to just launch into it? How do you want to do this?
Yeah, you can introduce yourself a little bit, and then we can launch it. Yeah.
Yeah, great. So like Akibar said, my name is Kirk. I'm the CEO of Foresight, CFO. And in addition to doing this, literally we have people globally, 32 people on 3 different continents doing the kind of work we're about to look at to help CEOs, build their business with clarity. In addition to that, I teach financial management at Georgetown University, and I'm the husband of one and the father of 2 sons who are both mostly grown, and they're both at West Point Military Academy, so they're starting their lives out in service. I would say somewhat like their dad did. I didn't go to West Point, but I did start out by serving in the Army. So that's kind of my story, and I'm gonna launch and just take us through the 2% CEO habits or profitability. In Akibar, I mean, given all your business experience and what you're doing, with your life to do something really impactful, as things fit in the conversation, feel free to just jump right in, right? And likewise, for the folks out there, if you have comments, if you questions, feel free to drop those into the chat box, and we'll take those and answer, think through them together. So I want to get grounded. I mean, for anyone to go from what they were doing to actually starting a business, there's got to be a why, right? And we, many of us have different whys, but it comes down to something like this. Are you a mountain climber? You just want to do something that inspires you? Are you a freedom fighter when you want the financial resources to have more time and more money to do what you want when you want? Some people just want to earn respect. They want to be a pillar in the community, and you literally earn that respect from people around them. Some folks at a certain point in your career, you've done well, and all of a sudden you can't get a job, so start a business. And it could be a millennial coming out into the world now where the environment's pretty tough. So maybe it makes sense, instead of waiting for someone to give you a job, to make your own, start a business. Others step into the family business, and some people are motivated by doing something that creates multi-generational wealth. So there's lots of different reasons. We tend to do well with mountain climbers who want to go up that mountain, do something significant, and freedom fighters who want a business that can run independent of the owner, so that the owner's not the business, and they have, from that, they have more freedom with their time. So let's get some visibility around this. So if you think about the fighter pilot, I mean, they have instruments, they can see what's going on. A jet aircraft is a high performing machine, and you're moving fast, and they have instruments, a dashboard, so that you can see what's going on with the machine. I mean, are things overheating? Are we losing altitude? Are we gaining altitude? And likewise, they can see beyond their immediate cockpit, and they can see, they have visibility forward, plus they have visibility around them to make sure that nothing sneaks up on them. So this is what it feels like to fly with visibility, right? I think this picture really captures it. So the opposite is true. If you can't see what's going on inside your business or inside your jet in this analogy, then if you run out of fuel, which is cash in a lot of cases, things stop, right? The plane drops. If somebody sneaks up on you, competition. In all fairness, the pandemic, I mean, snuck up on most of us, and we did not expect anything like what we're going through now with the U.S. government putting $10 trillion into the economy just to try to stay afloat, right? This is not investment money, but just survival money. So, a key thing, no matter where you're at in terms of
just to recap, Kirk, sorry for disturbing. So first you said that why you need to understand why you're starting the business, right, as an individual, and there are several reasons. One person gets inspired by an idea, some are, they want financial freedom, and there were other ones, like 4, 5, 6 reasons, right, to be, an entrepreneur, and why you starting your own business. And at the same time, the second point you made, which I really liked, is that you have to have a dashboard, basically know your KPIs or follow certain key numbers to understand the health of your business, and at the same time to be able to make certain decisions to grow your company.
That's right. I apologize, my workout program has popped up here.
That's right.
I need to get up there. So let's get back into the presentation. That's exactly right. Okay, so to pick it up, I mean, the key thing, you can't get there alone, right? That mountain climber going up the hill, usually they have, expert guides who've been there and back a few times. They, somebody who can share the experience with you, and you have teammates, right? You have peers on your management team, and then you have teams who actually do the work to, to get the business ready, get the jet ready for the mission, the objectives that you're going to fly into today. So, beyond the experience that we're talking about, time tested going back to 1929, the Great Depression, Napoleon Hill in his book Think and Grow Rich, all the way through more recent publications like, Michael Gerber with the E-Myth Revisited, and Drucker, and, Good to Great. The research shows and supports what we've been talking about, where you having the right guide, people, and using the numbers will make a huge difference into knowing what matters in your business and where to lean in as far as priorities. So just to remind you, when we don't do this, when we don't have a guide, we're doing everything the hard way, trial and error, this is what happens, right? Something sneaks up on you.
So just to elaborate on the points like the previous slide. So any average CEO, let's put it that way, right? They have certain resources that they guide themselves. It could be a book, blog, or mentors and things like that, right?
That's right. I mean, definitely. So sometimes they call it like an advisory board. You have people you go to. Sometimes it's formal. Actually, the group meets together and you brainstorm. Other times it's informal. That person you call when you wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and there's something you just can't figure out. The person you call, and it could be a team member, or it could be somebody outside the company. Usually a mix. So that you have that learning mindset and your eyes are wide open. Goes a long way in helping.
That's roughly speaking. How many CEOs have you worked with? In your lifetime?
Yeah, I mean, literally hundreds, right? Hundreds. I mean, roughly from high school, built and sold my first business, and then some 30 odd years doing exactly what we're talking about. So
do you see like commonality between the in their lifestyle or habits in all those CEOs, the successful ones and the ones that have failed?
Yeah, the ones that really succeed, there's kind of two things. That they're the ones who start with sales, right? They're out in the community, find out what the customer, what the buyer needs, and they even when they don't have the capacity, they sell it and they figure out how to deliver it. So the ones who the selling is the long pole in the tent for most businesses. So and then as the business matures, formalizing that, you have you have lead generation, sales teams, people work inside of CRM. So it goes from that kind of, shoot from the hip, confidence that they'll figure out, kind of the key characteristics. And then the second thing I noticed over the years is, CEOs who have those growth guides, it could be a mastermind, it could be a growth CFO on the team. when they have those folks that they collaborate with. Those folks do so much better versus those of us who are isolated and you're only working with what you have in your own head. So yeah, good question, Akibar. I'm sure you've dealt with more than a few business owners yourself, right? You've been out there.
Yeah, it's been pretty learned by failing a lot. You know, when you do the mistake, you at the end of the day you come to the same point where a lot of people have already discovered. So it's really good to learn from people who have done it, who've been there, and reading books, getting mentors, advisors, delegating things that you're weak at. And initially, when I started my own businesses, I was 19 years old, like the first legit business registered LLC. So it was pretty tough. I thought like I know everything, but I figured out I didn't know anything. So, and ended up the same route, make a lot of mistakes, but ended up with the right way of doing things all the companies do, right? Having the right advisors, getting the right resources, getting the best team possible, and have the perseverance and courageous and keep moving forward.
Yeah. And there's different stages. Once you figure out a certain stage and you pass through that gate, all of a sudden, hey, what worked yesterday, it's not working anymore. So to the point that we can anticipate what's coming and build that capacity before it's always comes down to people, developing people, having making sure they're doing the right thing through key performance indicators. So to kind of really step into this, I mean, more than ever, I mean, this that we have new challenges that we just haven't seen in a long time, in my lifetime, quite frankly, ever. The closest thing we've seen is the Great Recession of 2008, but this is deeper. I mean, 2008 you could still go outside and work, and this is different, and it's global. Supply chains are being disrupted. You got to figure out how to take care of your employees. So between the pandemic, we got social unrest going on in the USA, that the economic fallout, massive unemployment, and we're going to start seeing a wave of bankruptcies right between here and end of the year, and you're going to see banks tighten their lending policies. So it's going to get harder to get access to money, which means that we got to have even more visibility. What cash do we have coming in, and what is the right way to use that money. But we'll step into that a little bit more. So this is how CEOs gain clarity, confidence, and impact, right? It comes down to 5 habits, right? Making sure you have good numbers. So this is your accounting foundation, managing cash well, identifying the right growth options, creating a financial roadmap, and then shaking up possibilities. So that's kind of the cliffhanger at the very end. What does that mean, right? Most finance people aren't shaking things up, but we're gonna shake it up a bit here to always have that clearer view. So talking about making sure you have good numbers. This is your accounting operation. Business owners, we CEOs, we go to business to do something that we're good at, something that we might even be passionate about. Usually it's not most CEOs do not get up every morning thinking about how to make the accounting operation work better. I mean, that's just not what they do. A lot of CEOs, when they start their business, they're not even accustomed to reading financials, right? Because that language is a different language than what most of us are accustomed to. So a good habit for CEOs to complement their expertise, make sure you have good numbers. Look at the financials every month like a scoreboard. Have that budget variance. Am I doing better than expected, or am I doing worse than expected? Not judgmental worse, but am I doing less than expected? And then if you look at the numbers, you can figure out why. It's not every line item that's different, but the big ones, why am I different? So critical thinking kicks in, and then what do I do? And then as you scale your business and you start having managers, later you have executives, you teach them the same, how to use the numbers like a scoreboard, so that your sales manager is telling you as a CEO what the number story is. Are they over or under the forecast? And then based on that, why? And then from there, a real understanding of what's going on, what action they propose, what actions they're going to take to either capitalize an opportunity where things are going better than expected, or if we're off track, how do we get back on track? right? So imagine being the CEO of that company where the finance person is not blowing smoke, but they really know what's going on, and they're giving real clear recommendations that you as a CEO can adjust or get on board with. So this pertains to having those basics all the way through, know what your numbers are, use the financials, and make sure you stay compliant, because a lot of small companies get in trouble with the IRS, and the IRS has the power of taking money out of your bank even before they tell you. So you don't want to go down that road. Use like a scoreboard, just like you would if you're a sport fan, just like a sports fan. The second part of the habit is, whereas the financials are every month, you have your profit and loss managers using the financials. The second habit is that, why wait until the whole month is over before you know what's going on, right? And, develop, even if you start out with just one number on an Excel sheet, develop your weekly KPI dashboard. What one number are you going to track? And then go from there. What other numbers help you make decisions? Once you figure that out manually using a spreadsheet, then you can do something like what you see on the screen. You can have the technology bring key information that you can act on, and that your other manager can act on that week. So you literally, by having a radar, you can see where the kinks in the hose are, where the water's getting held up, and that tells your manager exactly where to go, what to resolve that week. What do you think so far about what we're talking about here?
I'm on it. It's really helpful. And one of the things, I have a question, like, what do you think about those, like small businesses when they're starting off, and one of the latest thing they do is actually getting the CFO, outsource the financial stuff, or get a bookkeeper at least, and they try to do it everything on their own, because we are entrepreneurs, like scarce in the budget. We try to like always avoid the financial and legal stuff at the end. But in fact, in reality, this is one of the most critical things in order to understand the health of the business. So what would be your advice to those type of entrepreneurs who are starting off, but financials are not their least priority?
Yeah, but the tendency is, not to look at the financials until like year end, when it's tax time kind of stuff, because as an entrepreneur starting a business, you're consumed by other things like selling and delivering products and services. So the basic recommendations are easy. Financial systems are very accessible, like QuickBooks Online, 30, 40, 50 bucks a month. Get an accountant, at the very least, get a bookkeeper to, the key in information and make sure it's right. Because no matter how smart we are, if I'm not a bookkeeper, there's finer points, there's nuances that I'm going to miss. And basically, from the get-go, you're getting financials that are not accurate, not useful.
Just one more question. Like a lot of startups, or entrepreneurs, when they're starting off, they think, hiring an accountant or CFO, it's very expensive and they cannot afford it. With that bias in mind, they don't even try or find out the price. So what are the price ranges for, like a small company just starting off out of the basement, and, with great ambition and great ideas, like, what would be the price range to those type of companies to get at least get the bookkeeping right?
Yes, you're exactly right. Start with the bookkeeper, right? The CFO can come later. So a bookkeeper, I mean, if you hire somebody directly, not from a third-party company, what is it, 15, 20 bucks an hour to get somebody who's experienced, and you're going to avoid a lot of pain, because first of all, you'll have accurate information to act on every week, every month. Secondly, if you allow your financial system to become a mess, it's going to cost you a lot more later on to have somebody else go back and redo, if not everything, but redo certain things. So, and if you're keying in stuff for the invoices and collecting payments from your customers, I mean, really, your time's not worth more than 20 bucks an hour. You don't have something more.
How about focusing on the type of entrepreneurs who just starting off and they cannot even afford paying $15 an hour to a bookkeeper? Like, as I know, there are a lot of outsourcing firms, that do it for a fraction of the cost.
Yeah, if you start going to India, Vietnam, you can get, I don't know, $6 an hour type stuff, and they're reasonably professional. And there's probably other countries like that would do the work at a very reasonable cost. Right. So find somebody to do it, even if they're not the best. It's better than literally wasting your time instead of selling and delivering. Keying in receipts and reconcile the bank account. Right.
So now I have one more question about the KPIs. So like fairly a company starting off, how should a person identify their key performance indicators? Like KPI is basically a numbers that tells you about primary numbers that tells you about the health of the business, just like human beings, right? Like we have each pulse, blood pressure, and other certain metrics that keeps us alive, right? And we know that we don't have the virus and we're gonna be surviving. So the same way, right? For a small business starting off, an entrepreneur, how should they identify their KPIs depending on various difference of industries?
Yeah. So it comes down to understanding what activities in your business lead to results. But you want leading indicators versus like financials are after the fact. An example of this, for example, if you get most of your leads for customers from email campaigns, then based on the activity level, the number of emails you send every week is going to result in some number of hand raisers, prospects. So that could be a key. The number of emails that you're sending out could be a key measurement for you, because if you skip a few weeks, then the very next week you're going to have fewer leads to work on. So you're going to have fewer sales based on however long your sales cycle is. So it's literally that.
So basically, ability to like understand the health of the business, but at the same time identify what works in terms of sales, as you mentioned initially, right? Sales is the number one thing in any business, because it's like cash is the king and it's the driver of the blood of the business. So therefore, since cash is the king and the blood is the cash flow, and we have to find out ways or track certain numbers that tells us, those numbers tells us how much am I spending on marketing and sales and how much I'm getting on return. Plus there are certain conversion rates, sales qualified leads, closing rates, and all that, right?
That's right. And if you're hiring somebody to do your marketing, your lead generation, so many of those folks, they want to make pretty things, but they don't want to stick their neck out and give you a number of how many prospects they're going to generate for you, and are the prospects qualified? Are they realistically your potential buyer? So that's a warning sign. If somebody won't say, look, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna generate 5 leads per week, and this is how I'm gonna do it by emailing 25,000 people, then you pretty much don't do business with them. And then for those you select to do business with, you got that weekly measurement. And just like anybody else, any other manager, you're either over or under your forecast. And if you're under, figure out why, right, and do it sooner. So literally, if nothing else, start with one number on a spreadsheet, do it manually, and then from that you'll figure out what, as you figure out how your business actually works, you'll keep picking up the right numbers for different functions of your business to sell and deliver effectively. Then as you mature, a lot of systems like Sage Intacct and accounting system, they have built-in dashboards. If you work inside a system, a CRM for sales and an accounting system, and then whatever delivery system you have, you can if you work in the system, then you can pull the data using like Microsoft Business Intelligence, which this is an example of, to get whatever dashboard you want, and you can have it broadcasted to your phone, right? So wherever you are, you have what you need to act on. Okay, I'm gonna take the next step here.
Right, sorry, keep asking me questions.
Yeah, so there's 5 habits. So one is really that foundation. Make sure you have good numbers, right? Weekly. Don't even wait until a month is over. Right? That's too much time in this day and age. So the second thing is manage cash well, because that is the fuel to your aircraft, right? If the minute you run out of cash, game over, right? And you can have profitability on your financials, but have no cash in the bank if you're not billing and collecting your clients. The income statement is not cash. I mean, there's a paradigm shift there, but if you read your financials every month, you'll start to see how on an accrual basis The income statement is not cash, but it is a measurement of profitability. So speaking about managing cash well, there's basically two key things you want to do as a habit. For some companies, every week you want to update the weekly cash forecast, and basically it's a schedule. What money do I expect in, and what money do I expect out? So you can match up. When you write the check for money to go out, you match it up to make sure that the money came in first. Some companies, if you're really close on cash, maybe you do this daily, right? You just get a snapshot, maybe once a week, maybe twice a month, but at least twice a month. You want to get a near-term view, that 12-week rolling cash forecast, just to match the short-term money coming in and out. The other thing where that really impacts, the going from negative cash flow to positive cash flow is measure your cash conversion cycle. And if you Google those terms, it'll show you how to calculate what I'm showing here. The cash conversion cycle is basically how fast you bring money in and how fast do you use it. An example of traditional billing, like in a business-to-business company, is you do the work, and during the month you incur payroll expense, you incur rent expense. Then after the month is over, maybe week 1 or 2, you write the bill to your customer, you send it, and for some reason you give them net 30 so that they can pay you 30 days after the second month. So now if they pay you on time, you're into the third or fourth month, right? From all the way through, every 2 weeks you got to make payroll. Every month you got to pay rent. That's an example of negative cash flow. So if you flip it on its head, if you're a software to service company, you get prepaid, right? If you can get a deposit, that's part of being prepaid. If I have a big client and I bill them every week, I'm accelerating that time considerably. So when you do that, you literally put, in this example, another $1 million of cash back into your bank account because you're getting your money faster, right? The habit is to measure this twice a year for your business, and don't try to fix everything at once, but pick 1 or 2 things where kind of the what if. Challenge yourself, break out of tradition. What if I do this? What happens? Okay, so that goes from cash management to how to actually accelerate your cash flow.
Amazing.
Very powerful. This is underused. Most finance people don't even do this, right? Most finance people do the 12-week cash forecast. A lot of them don't do the extra work, and this is where you change. This makes your business more valuable. Every dollar of less working capital you need is a multiple evaluation. So okay. So the next habit, you're using the numbers. You got your cash working for you, so that you don't run out of gas. There's so many things I can do. How do I identify the right growth options? These eight things around the dial are the drivers that are proven to make your business more valuable. When you score 80 plus on the 2% CEO score, which is a questionnaire that we have, your business, we know for a fact, based on 34,000 private companies, that your business on average is 71% more valuable than it would be otherwise at that time. And it makes sense, right? If you have a real strong value proposition, what makes you unique? If you have recurring revenue every month, you have some base that you have this predictable amount of money coming in. That's better than project revenue that goes up and down. If the business is dependent on the owner steps back and the business slows, or goes on vacation and the business slows, your business is less valuable because you are the business, right? Versus the business being the business. Other areas like growth potential, what market makes sense for you, right? Not being dependent on key employees, because you get that knock 9 a.m. in the morning, and you get that knock on your door, and you're about to lose a key person, and that
basically, like when it comes dependence on anyone, including the employees, it's basically having a system that is sustainable even without you.
There you go. The know-how is cultivated in the methods, and it's done in a way
that's my philosophy,
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's how you identify. If you use that lens to identify the growth options, you'll identify, if you want to alleviate owner trap, you'll identify the right actions to take in this 90-day sprint. And then year to year, keep building your score out so that you can have a business that operates, somewhat without the owner, is transferable. So when you're doing those things, the 90-day sprints, you're developing those drivers, and you're getting the foundation, that accounting operation correct. Then with financial management, you're using the number to have visibility into the future. That literally creates a journey where the things you do today sets you up to have. There's 7 succession options when you want to pass the torch to your business. There's 7 options, and by doing the things that we're talking about, you're literally positioned to where you can, assess all 7 options, and you have a transferable business.
I like this, pyramid of, the financial, the system where the finance is automatically, recurring, and it's also like cash positive, the health of the business is really good. So could you elaborate in each, level of those, like options, strategic growth, in a few sentences, like what those mean?
Mm-hmm.
From the perspective of the business.
We're actually covering some of this, but I'll give you the heads up. So every company, when you start, it's the foundation, like the stuff you talked about. Let's make sure we have the accountant using an accounting system, keeping copies of the receipt, preferably as an image, so that if you ever get audited or if you need to do due diligence on a strategic transaction, you're ready, right? Engineering profitability, we're going to talk about that next, right? How to use a 12-month rolling budget forecast to do the what if scenarios. And if you can plan and execute across 12 months, well, now, if you can show anybody, hey, we're really good. It's a skill. We've done this enough. We've gotten good at it. We can plan and execute across 12 months. Well, then you can start talking about that multi-year. Where is that summit of your mountain where when you arrive, you said, we have arrived, we have done it. But if you can't plan and execute across 1 year, the multi-year just, is no more valuable than the paper is written down on. Strategic growth becomes, as you get good at these foundations, you have some financial wherewithal and you have some operating wherewithal. Strategic growth is, do I want to raise capital and put more fuel in the tank and go faster, or go into new marketplaces? Or it could be, do I want to acquire other companies in order to grow my capacity, my client base, whatever it might be, whatever reason you have for doing that. In this marketplace, given that the market size has shrunk in many industries, acquisition may be one of the best ways to keep growing that top line, right? Because literally the market size has shrunk. And in doing those things, kind of at the summit, at the point you're ready to have a exit, to have a transferable business, there's seven options. Everything from employees do a buyout from a bank loan. You could have managers do a buyout. You could sell to a third party. Some companies go public, and sometimes the next, sons or daughters step up into the business. There's 7 different succession options that are worth evaluating their impact on you for lifestyle impact and financial impact, right? So, Akbar, did I answer your question okay?
Yeah. Like,
there's a model, there's a framework, right? So it's not all random. So this gets right into engineering profitability, one of the tiers on that growth pyramid, where create a financial roadmap, right? You have these different things you want to do with sales and marketing and how you're going to grow out your operations. Well, put the numbers to that, where you can see month by month, what do I expect, right? Given what we know, and then do the what if. Well, what if I did more of this lead gen versus that lead gen? You could literally see how much more profitability you drop to the bottom line, month to month all the way through. And you can see if something's going to take you to a place where you run out of cash. If I'm going to run out of cash, I want to see it 18 months early, right? Because then I have time, I have options, I can figure stuff out, right? So it's literally engineering. You get a baseline forecast month to month, and you can see like small changes. Then you run scenarios. What if, right? And small changes in this example, 1% change in price, managing costs 1% better, and managing overhead 1% better. Who can't do 1% better, right? And so 1 plus 1 plus 1.
So it's basically tracking the number, and as well as doing a continuous improvement in the conversion rate of business efficiency, financial efficiency. But it should be in a level where you view it holistically and consider all the metrics and see what really makes sense for the long-term and short-term health of the business by improving those conversion rates. For example, if your cost is a lot and then you can save 1%, do it, right? Or you can, sales, convert the lead into sales and have the money in the bank account by 0.5% or 1%, better than nothing, right?
That's right. You could focus on pricing, what is my ideal client I can really have a great impact for, so that there's so much value that I can increase my pricing by 5%, and they're still happy. They love you because you've done so much more for them. So what if 1 + 1 + 1, which in the old days that's 3%, but you got synergies, almost a 39% increase in profitability. Well, then what if 5%? And what part of the market should I really focus in on that loves what we do, because we help them so much. We have that impact. So Akibar, I believe you have an engineering background, right?
Yes.
Okay, this is
I don't have engineering. I have a product background.
a product background. Okay. So this is where, from a product standpoint, we engineer those outcomes, right? And if you can see it if you can see that financial roadmap, then we can execute against it. Are we over or under? What's the variance? What's that number story?
If you have a certain pattern, you can automate it and bring certain efficiency into anything in life.
Yeah,
including finances.
Yeah, the technology enabled capabilities, unbelievable. I mean, my business will not exist. We have 32 people, across 3 different continents. 10 years ago, there's no way we could operate the way we do now as if we're in the same room. So that technology enablement is pretty phenomenal. The habit on this is, before you go into your next year, or when you start, develop your business model, develop a 12-month ramp. And the habit when you have an operating business is, before you go into the next year, do your initial budget, but don't do like a government where it's boring, but do it where it's dynamic. Literally your brain is on fire. And then at certain points in your business cycle, do a reforecast for the next 12 months. So you're always learning, developing that skill to plan and execute across 12 months. When you're doing that within a small margin of error, woo, man, game on, right? You can go to anybody and make any case you want to make. But it's a skill, right? And early on, there's more variance because you just don't know yet. You don't have a track record.
So before we go to habit 5, I would love to say to the audience, guys, we have Kirk Mclaren. He's the CEO of Foresight, CFO. He's also doing the CFO thing at Foresight, our company. And if you have any questions, please feel free. He's also a professor at Georgetown University, one of the top universities in the United States. And you can ask your questions in the comment below. And we will be almost done with the slides. And Kirk will be able to answer your questions live right here. Thank you.
Yeah. Great. Okay, so up until now, we've been all kind of looking internal as a fighter pilot. You're looking at your cockpit, how things are operating, making decisions based on what light is being lit up. So now this is time to lift your head up and now it's time to look down the road a bit, right? And shake up possibilities. How does my company compare to competitive benchmarks, right? And these numbers, the numbers that we use for benchmarking is from the same database that a lot of banks use. Because if we're going to raise money, we want to know what the bank's going to think, or what the lender, even if it's a non-bank lender, we want to know how they think and how they're going to see our proposal before we go to them, so we can position things well. Plus, as a CEO of my company, this makes me think, because up until now I only had my own data to go on. But check this out. I mean, this is a real example of a construction company in Maryland, family-owned business, not fantastic business. They've been doing about 1.5% to 2%, for years or decades. And for them, that's a good year. We did 2%, right? And the minute they found out that the average company in their industry is doing 10%, I mean, literally 5 times what they're doing, the room is silence. Because if other people are doing this,
so it's basically, sorry for cutting you off, but it's basically, you should also know the industry numbers, so you have the right numbers to compare you with. It's just not like, getting excited. Oh, I got 1 pound, like me gaining weight, right? I got 1 pound, but industry average is like, 150 pounds for my height, and I'm like 120 pounds. I'm like, oh, I got 1 pound, So of course you have to celebrate, but you have to not relax and not get into comfort zone, so he can keep striving, keep moving forward, right?
Yeah, with small business, there's always challenges. There's always the next step. There's always something going sideways. Doesn't make me a bad person. That's the nature of life. And so if you can see it, and it literally you get woke and you know what to go, use your time and energy for. Not the noise, not the distraction, but the things that really matter. Like this one, the minute the team, after the room was silent, we can earn 5 times our current profitability. And yeah, just to make sure we know what that means you have another, $1.9 million of profitability, which approximately correlates with cash. Would that be helpful for you to have another 1.9 million? And if the answer is yes, then let's do the work, because we not only can we, achieve the average benchmark, through a few next steps, 90-day sprints, we can get there. Not saying it's going to be easy, but then what is the top percentile for my industry? Because once you're in the top percentile, then you get, people want to lend you money, right? And you have more options when it's time to pass the torch.
So it also means, you gotta keep an eye on the market, overall market, and at the same time your competitors. So find out who are your competitors, direct and indirect competitors, and basically competitor is anyone who your potential customer, would solve the problem they have and spend the money not on you, but on somebody else.
Yeah.
Great.
Well said. And it's just there's a whole bunch of other benchmarks besides this, but these two illustrate this profitability. Current ratio is your on your balance sheet, your current assets over your current liability. So basically, do I have how much money do I have for every dollar of liability? So in this example, we have $1.29 for every dollar of liability, but the average, which is pretty close, you're okay, you're above 1. If you're below 1, it means you can't afford to pay everybody. So somebody's not getting paid or not getting paid on time. But the average company has almost 3 times that. So whoa, what would that be like? When you're coming up on payroll and you have 3 times more money than you actually need. Well, kind of probably sleep better. Okay, so that good exercise at least once a year. You don't want to play the stock market all day long and look at it every 5 minutes. You make yourself crazy. But once a year, maybe twice a year, get a refresh and figure out what 1 or 2 things you're going to do to go to meet your objectives. And the same is for the valuation. Do a manager level, not a Price Waterhouse $20,000 level, but a management calculation, discounted cash flow. What is the value of our business? And you'll see what's giving you lift and what's giving you drag, so you can make a decision about what priority will I take on now, and not to, be selective on priorities. You can't do everything, so 1, 2, 3 things to really shake it up. So that's why we call that's my cliffhanger. Habit 5, shaking things up with data. So just to ground us again, these are the habits. No matter we have clients from technology companies to education companies, to a telecom company in Iceland, to a Himalayan salt company in Pakistan. These habits work. Doesn't matter. They're solid. Our own experience, hundreds of companies. Their skills, right? For yourself and team members, most of them won't come natural overnight, like going to the gym. But if you do it, keep at it. This will set you up for success through the whole journey, no matter what different things you get into. Okay, I want to illustrate a couple things for you. The work we're talking about, the foundation, that's accounting work. And accountants work with tax preparers to make sure that we achieve compliance. But everything else we're talking about, this is growth CFO work. How do you use the numbers to create a view forward that's you can execute against and actually achieve? And how do you make sure that you're engineering that bottom line profitability and how much cash you need in the bank account, and ultimately that you're maximizing, by doing these things, you're maximizing the value of your business so that you do have more options. This is what we do. Through the numbers, we help CEOs win customers, keep them, make sure they have the people capacity to deliver quality consistently, access to capital, and then achieving top percentile performance, because when you do, when things happen, you're in a better place to not just survive, but thrive. We do this through growth CFO and outsourced accounting services. So that takes us all the way. takes all grasp on the value proposition that we get into. So that takes us all the way through, you know, the benefits of CEO understanding the what and why. What are the habits? Why do they benefit me to learn them? And if you got the what and the why, you can work with us, or you can work with others to figure out the how, right?
Right.
I would argue that we're best in class, but no matter what, figure out the how once you get the what and why.
I'm
Okay.
Akbar Azamuch, and I approve this message. Kirk is really good. You know, it's not only about bookkeeping and filing the tax right. It's also about knowing your numbers right, and it's also really important knowing those numbers in the timely manner. You know, if it's bi-weekly, you should know it. You know, if you wanna get out in the midnight and see your numbers and find out like what's going on in the company, you gotta figure that out and have that ready. You know, if you I can do it myself. You know, I'm sorry, but that's not the case with many people that I work with, and most of our companies the same way. And you know, Kirk has worked with over 100 CEOs, and this goes same with them as well, because you have to focus on what you're good at and outsource or get the right person to do things that you're not good at or you don't have the time for, because you could be biased while you do your own numbers. And yeah, thank you so much, Kirk. And I think we can get into a Q&A session. It's 10 minutes, I guess. So let me ask the first question. So Bakhtiari Soev is asking, like, how do you solicit feedback as a CEO? At what point?
Yeah, we're talking about feedback from employees or clients.
How do you solicit feedback as a CEO? At what point? So since I know him, you know, he's asking as a CEO when you should get the feedback from the employees, I guess.
Yeah.
So the other way around.
Okay, so in general, this is what I think about that collaboration with employees. You know, in the old days, you know, once a year you do the annual review. It's never a good experience for anybody. No one's ever happy. I think the smart money is to have literally weekly huddles with employees, right? As a CEO, you have people who report to you that at some point they have people report to them. Every week, have an individual development plan so that you're having a conversation and you're figuring out, you know, what the right path is for them, where they get, you know, where they need more development. So I'm on an individual level, literally weekly, and we do this at Foresight. Everyone has an individual development plan. They huddle with their manager every week. Every quarter, the managers present them to me. I want to know what we're doing to help our people be even better, right? And then once a month, when we get to be a certain size, start, you know, have that all staff meeting and be very candid about, hey, what's going on? This is where we're at, right?
So you're saying like you know, weekly with the team members that are directly involved with you, right? It could be a department, head of department, or it could be, you know, like a head of project. It could be the CEO, the executive, things like that. But at the same time, have a, you know, all hands meeting at least once a month.
Yes, and just talk about what's going on in the business. And as you grow,
it's also like 360 degree of the feedback, right? So the CEO or the, you know, whoever is leading the project or the whatever department is that, with the employee has also, you know, giving feedback to the other party.
Yep. There's got to be professional candor where it's not just a one-way street. Otherwise, you won't know what the employees know what's going on, right? They know things that we don't know. So by, you know, having professional candor, we can talk about anything, and I mean anything. Then you know, then and respond to things well. It'll pay off for everybody.
So I have a question, like, you know, it's, you know, what are the books or resources, you know, entrepreneurs that are starting or they have already started, but they are, you know, in the beginning of their careers, what are the books or resources or online courses they should take in order to improve themselves constantly, so they stay hungry, you know?
Well, like the book, we have some of them listed up here. I'm going back, but you know, in the world of audiobooks, I mean, there's plenty of resources. These are some of the, going back one right here. You know, these have stood the test of times, right? Like the EMIS really describes all the different hats you wear as an entrepreneur starting a business, and then as you go through different stages of your business, how you got to have the right team and learn how to delegate, but in a way where you still make sure that the right thing's being done well. So these are some good foundation, books to read or listen to. And then there's always, quite frankly, a lot of the books that come out are kind of just rehashing what's already been talked about for 100 years. Because basically, on some level, except for technology, things move faster than they ever did in the past. In certain disciplines like marketing, the way to market, like at one point Google AdWords didn't exist, but so some of those tactics change, but the fundamentals of developing an organization and being tuned in, internal and external, they're pretty consistent. So this is a good set. But other than that, follow the Wall Street Journal, bestseller, bestsellers. At least check out what other people think is useful. So there's that. There's courses. Doing an MBA is fine, but MBA is very academic. I wish my MBA would have taught me something like the habit. The habits are a practical tool, right? This is how you come to it. At every stage of the business, you're taking the next step and using those methods based on what the business needs are. MBA, you study things, but it's academic. It's not connected. So, but worth doing. Not saying it's not.
Great, thank you so much. Whoever needs any of these other books, I think we can give you a few ones from Audible. And please message me, or Kirk will find a way to get you those books. So yeah. Valerie Perlowitz, she's asking, is it best to have employees with responsibility for numbers in their areas of responsibility that roll up to corporate numbers? Question mark. And then balanced scorecard as a guide for financial numbers.
Yeah, it's exactly that. Where have a drive that extreme ownership all the way down to your frontline employees, and make sure it's perfectly aligned to what the overall goals are. And I hear something about the balanced scorecard.
Yeah, so balanced scorecard as a guide for financial numbers, following the previous question.
Yeah. There's actually a book. I'm not sure if it referenced, but Kaplan's book on the balanced scorecard, where you look at each key function, the people, operations, sales, and finance. That's a good model to start out with if you're looking at what you should pay attention to in your business. In financials, I mean, you got forward looking, like the multi-year trend lines. What is your constant annual growth rates all the way through. The most basic thing to start with is, how did my actual financial result compare to my forecasted results? So that variance is a good number. Then from that, I would look at the sales activity from top of the funnel, whatever activity generate leads all the way through.
Also, another question is that, just in addition to that, is there a one universal answer to all this, questions about metrics? Because some places, Google has this OKR, right? There is a KPI, key metrics, and in finance they said different names. Like, which one is the right one, or is there any one universal one, or is it depends on the business, or it depends on the situation?
Yeah, from a method standpoint, I mean, OKRs are a good approach. You hear about traction, right? They have a good one-page plan, and they have measurements. The other people use the term, key performance indicators. There's some nuances, but between the different methods, but there really are finer nuances. So you can take any of those methods, then no matter what method you're looking at from an academic standpoint, you're going to adapt them to your business. How do you work? And so they're all, from KPIs to OKRs, or from a foundation standpoint, they're all useful. I don't think there's a holy grail, because any of those methods are not going to apply to your business exactly the way the author wrote it. So you're always going to adapt it, and based on what's effective, do more of what's effective, and then tweak or adjust the things that are not quite working the way you want. So here's something that one of the questions, if you really want to be plugged in, I started over 30 years working with CEOs. I started to notice the difference of CEOs who work with a mastermind or a coach versus those that don't. There's all kinds of masterminds from there's entrepreneur organization, there's Vistage, there's CEO focus, and we co-founded one called a 2% CEO mastermind because the other ones didn't suit my needs. So like any entrepreneur, if I can't find what I want, I make it. It's worthwhile to your mastermind becomes kind of your round table of peers where you can share experiences. Otherwise, the CEO really doesn't have anybody else to talk to because you can't go to a frontline employee and talk about the things going on in your head. So mastermind and CEO coaches are, if there had to be one thing I would do, I would do that. And in fact, 3 months before I started Foresight, knowing that I was going to start Foresight, I hired a coach and joined the mastermind because I just, over 20 some odd years at that point, I saw a difference between those who do and CEOs who don't. Okay.
Great. So one more question. So there are a lot of when I met a lot of startups and entrepreneurs who were just starting up, and they were kind of hesitant or afraid of getting the financial advisor or CFO or this bookkeeper because they thought like oh, okay, I cannot be disclosing everything or whatever the mindset going on. So what's the role of CFO in general? Like it's basically helping out the the CEO or the owner, or is it just what's the role definition so that the entrepreneurs have clarity on whoever you're getting into your team as a financial advisor or CFO, they're there to guide you, not to control you or tell you what to do 100%, or this is what you have to do 100%, right? So at the end of the day, it is a decision of the business owner or the CEO to make whatever decision they want to make that they envision for the best interest of their company, right?
Yeah, exactly right. Because ultimately, if you're inspired by a vision as the CEO, only you really know what that vision is, right? And no one's going to fully get that because you got a journey that you're on. So imagine Uber, right? When the CEO pitched that, hey, we're going to have people use their private vehicle to pick up strangers and drive around town. You can see a lot of people saying that'll never happen, the liability, right? Traditional CFOs are really controllers or accountants, and they focus on the accounting operation and compliance. They have a big title, but that's really what they do. Now, in the public company, the CFO would deal with investor relations and financial planning analysis, so a little bit different. But for private businesses, traditional CFOs really focused on compliance, right? So, the traditional CFO is a place when the CEO has an idea, they go to the traditional CFO, and the CFO tells them all the reasons why it can't work. Okay, so that's why we distinguish what we do with growth CFO. If you have an idea, let's work it through with the numbers. Let's find out how this can work. We have some visibility, and then let's see week to week if we're on or off, so that we can make adjustments and keep going, right? Because only 1% of businesses actually make it. And beyond.
It reminded me. It reminded me of one post which was saying the conversation between CEO and CFO. The CEO says, let's invest in the education of the employees. The CFO says, it doesn't make sense financially. What if they leave? And then the CEO says, where do they stay? So,
yeah, what do they say? Yeah. Right. Yeah. And ultimately, as a CEO, you got to make the call, right? And you want the CFO to bring numbers and help you have other decision-making criteria. But you got to make the call. You're the CEO. Good.
Guys, one last question. Can you give a good advice for millennials, like the young generation, about becoming a CEO at the early age? They are maybe in college, or they just graduated, or they're young professionals and they want to pursue their dreams or become a CEO of a big company. So what would be your advice for them to do from now on so it can help them to reach their goals.
Yeah. So kind of a couple things come to mind. It's actually a good idea in some ways. You know, if you're a millennial, start a business when you're still young, before you get all the liabilities in life, right? Married, children, mortgage. Because when you have all those liabilities, unless you have money, you know, independent money from another source, it's very difficult to step out, because typically a business takes longer to get to where you want to go than what you can imagine on the front end. Ideally, if you have a job that you're able to pay your expenses with, start your business and keep the job, right? Start your business on the side. And once you get to that tipping point where you figured things out, some things occur differently than you thought, and you're getting enough money and you're at that tipping point where you can go full time in the business, go full time. But it's going to take longer. No matter how you think, it's going to take longer than you think, because ideas travel faster than reality. So that's a good way to start. You know, if you're not working, you might as well start a business right now, because what are you waiting for? You know, right? Go to we. Yeah. Yeah.
Just the voice is breaking up.
What's that? Okay.